This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, Ash and Team Valor. A year has passed since the incident aboard the Space Colony Ark, in which Metal sacrificed himself for the sake of the world. Since then, his friends have done their best to move on from their grief, going on adventures and making new friends, such as a young rabbit named Cream and her pet Chow Cheese. However, even after all this time, Metal's absence is still felt, with Sonic and Amy feeling it especially strongly. As a tribute to their fallen friend, the Blue Blur, along with Tails and even occasionally Knuckles, have taken to visiting Scrapnik Island in order to help with the continued excavation. This has brought them into contact with Mecha, Sigma and Scrap, all of whom have become fast friends, with Mecha and Sonic bonding over their memories of Metal, while Sigma and Tails share a knack for engineering and robotics, though the pair have become closest to by far Knuckles and Scrap, with Sonic teasing that he thinks Knux has found his soulmate, as what could be better for him than an equally hard-boiled and punch-happy echidna who also shares his love for long stoic silences. Naturally, Knuckles denies this in his usual terse way, snapping that maybe he just needs a little peace and quiet after dealing with a certain blue hedgehog who never shuts up. Though all the same, it is not long before a warp point is installed on Scrapnik Island to make visiting easier. It is during one of these visits that something peculiar happens, as when Sonic, Tails and Mecha emerge from the tunnels of Scrapnik Island, they find the beach to be bathed in shadows, despite the fact that it should be the middle of the day. Looking up, they see the cause immediately. A fleet of airships so large and numerous they have blocked out the sun itself, though even in the gloom, Sonic has no trouble identifying the Eggman Empire's insignia on the side of every vessel. Heatedly, Sonic calls out to the dock, demanding to know what he's doing here, with this earning him a laugh, as Eggman's voice rings out over the flagship's PA system, declaring that he's simply here to reclaim his property, since by right, this trash heap and everything on it is his. In a tone of disgust, Sonic tells Egghead to think again, since these androids are their own people, so if he tries to hurt them, he'll have to get through him first. However, this just earns the hedgehog another laugh, as Eggman sneers that it won't be him the Blue Rat is fighting, before cutting off the intercom. A moment later, a series of splashes fill the ears and auditory circuits of the island's inhabitants, as hundreds of Eggman robots rain down from the sky and land in the water just off the coast. Then, when the last of the red-neuroned robots has risen out of the foam, a final machine crashes down on the beach to stand at the head of the army, a sleek blue model who everyone here knows well. Metal Sonic. In a ringing voice, Eggman commands the android, who he dubs his Metal Commander, to seize the island and destroy all who oppose him, with the Bluebot nodding obediently as he rises to his feet. Now in a standing position, everyone can see that Metal is not quite as they know him, having received some notable modifications, such as 5 wicked-looking metal quills extending from his head and a billowing black cloak, though the most chilling change of all is that his eyes are once again a blazing blood red. Understandably shaken by this, Sonic asks his friend what happened to him, though to this he receives no response beyond a fist being swung at his face as the Metal Commander rushes towards him. Dodging by the skin of his teeth, Sonic tries the question again, though once more the machine says nothing, kneeing him in the gut this time, and ramming a kick into his back as he falls to his knees. Laughing maniacally now, Eggman tells Sonic to save his breath, since the friend he knew is gone. Instead, what he sees before him is his perfected creation, carrying with him all the skills and abilities he gained from his time as a hero, along with a few upgrades courtesy of the Doctor himself, but with none of that foolish emotion or rebellious nature that made him turn away from his master. He is the greatest tool of world domination ever to exist, and it is partially thanks to Sonic and his friends. Voice shaking with disgust and horror, Tails cries out to Eggman, demanding to know how he could do this to Metal, since he himself said that he respected the android, though this only serves to further amuse the Doctor, as he retorts that he does respect Metal. That is why when he found him broken after the Ark incident, he knew that he had to have him back under his command, and from the looks of things, it was well worth the time and effort of repairing him. By now the battle has well and truly begun, with the horde of Eggman robots following their commander and storming the beach. Those capable of fighting have taken up arms against the invaders, with most facing several foes at once, while those such as the smaller Scrapniks who cannot help have begun retreating down to the bowels of the island. Though they all know this is little more than a prolonging measure, as with the numbers they're up against, they simply cannot win. Recognizing this, Knuckles orders Tails to escort as many non-combatants as possible to the warp point, since their top priority needs to be making sure as many androids as possible get off the island before it falls. Nodding his understanding, Tails begins shepherding the fleeing Scrapniks, while with a low growl, Knuckles finishes off the 2 robots he's fighting and throws himself at the Metal Commander, figuring that if he can cut the head off the snake, it might buy them some time at least. Due to having his focus still on pummeling Sonic, the Metal Commander does not see the first hit, with it being enough to send him reeling. Though unfortunately the same cannot be said for the second, as now that he has registered Knuckles as a threat, the Bluebot uses his incredible speed to grab his foe by the face and lift him into the air, while squeezing down with his vice-like metallic hand. At the sound of Knuckles' pained screams, Sonic begs his former friend to let the echidna go, and this time, the android does speak, though not to him. Instead, he mechanically states 5 words: "Lifeform data successfully copied." As soon as the words are out of his proverbial mouth, the Metal Commander releases his hold on Knuckles, though he is not done with the Red Ruffian, as before his feet can touch the ground, he is sent flying by a fierce uppercut that launches him across the island. Barely contained glee in his voice, Eggman then asks what the defenders think of that, calling one of the upgrades he has given to his Metal Commander the ability to scan and replicate the power of any opponent, making him virtually unbeatable. This is a daunting prospect to say the least, though even in spite of this latest blow, the heroes fight on, with Scrap taking it upon himself to be the Metal Commander's next opponent, while on either side of him, Mecha and Sigma fall in, intent on protecting their home and saving their friend. To this end, Mecha tries first to speak to his brother, reminding him of where they are and what they've been through together, though like all other attempts to reach him, this is met with swift and brutal retribution, as the Metal Commander strikes Mecha hard in the chest, with a blow carrying all of Knuckles' strength. However, being a sturdily built machine, Mecha withstands the hit, seeming to fold in on himself, but truthfully this is just the beginning of his spin dash counterattack, as he curls into a bladed ball and barrels towards the blue bot, all the while wordlessly regretting that it has come to this. Unfortunately, even Mecha's speed cannot compare to the fastest machine in existence, with the Metal Commander simply leaping out of the way, though this puts him right in the path of Scrap's fist, as he launches himself upwards to strike his former mentor in the cheek. While this does damage the Metal Commander, it will take more than this to best him, with him preparing to retaliate. That is until he feels himself being caught in a full Nelson and lifted off his feet, thanks to Sigma using the others as a distraction so he could get behind him. In his soft, kind voice, Sigma apologizes to the Metal they once knew for this, while telling Scrap and Mecha that he has him restrained. Though, as the other 2 androids begin their approach, they hear what can only be called a powering up noise coming from the fallen hero's chest. Then, they see it. A bright blue laser like that of the Eclipse Cannon, which immediately opens fire on them. Desperately, the 2 Scrapniks attempt to leap out of the way, but not having been built for speed like Metal and Mecha, Scrap is too slow to avoid the blast entirely, with it disintegrating his left arm up to the shoulder and taking him out of the fight. Not only this, but thanks to the kickback of the blast, Sigma is blown off his feet, landing hard on the ground, while the Metal Commander touches down far more gracefully on his feet, his cold eyes surveying the trail of devastation his laser has left in the landscape of Scrapnik Island. Seeing this breaks the trio of Scrapnik's hearts, as it is proof that their friend is truly gone, since they all know how much Metal had loved this place, and that he would never willingly do it or them harm. By now, the island has been completely overrun by badniks, with Sigma having to carry the wounded Scrap above his head, so the Eggbots cannot prey on his weakness, while Mecha tries to keep them away from his friends. Even Sonic and Knuckles are beginning to fatigue after so many clashes against the apparently endless supply of robots, with it seeming as though this will be all of their last stand. However, at that moment, Tails emerges from the entrance to the underground, informing the others that all the civilian Scrapniks have escaped, meaning it's time for them to leave. Nodding gratefully, Sonic forces himself to execute one last spin dash, pinballing himself from robot to robot as he zigzags his way towards the Tornado 2, where Tails will be waiting for him, while the others break off their fights and rush down into the tunnel as fast as they can, all eager to reach the warp point, and their only hope of escape. Seeing this, the Metal Commander raises another laser to finish off the fleeing enemies, though refusing to suffer any more losses, Sonic changes course, slamming into him instead and causing the blast to go wide. Then, as he unfurls, he looks into those glowing red eyes, and in a low voice makes a promise that next time they meet, he will get the real Metal back, no matter what it takes. As expected, the Metal Commander says nothing to this, though if he had, Sonic would not have been able to hear it, as at that moment, the buzzing of a plane's propeller fills his ears, with the blue hero looking up to see Tails in the Tornado, holding out a hand for him. Reaching up, Sonic feels his best friend pull him into the plane's second seat as they begin to rise. Naturally, Eggman has no intention of letting them get away, having his fleet open fire from above, though what the Tornado lacks in size, it makes up for in maneuverability, with Tails expertly dodging the aerial bombardment as they leave the island and their foes behind. Looking back one last time, Sonic tries to console himself with the fact that they managed to get everyone out of there, meaning none of the other Scrapniks will have to share Metal's fate, though in his heart, he knows that this is just rationalization. They lost today, and they lost badly. Not long after this, the Fox and the Hedgehog arrive at the Shrine of the Master Emerald, where they're able to regroup with their friends and lick their wounds. As a precaution, Knuckles has destroyed the warp point on this end, meaning Eggman and his cronies cannot follow them, though this is little comfort to the Scrapniks who have just lost their home at the hands of one who was meant to be their greatest champion. Seeing no point in sitting around moping, Sonic begins brainstorming with Sigma, Mecha, Tails, and Knuckles about what their next move should be. with Tails suggesting they could contact Shadow and see if he can use the Arc to give them some intel on Eggman's next move, while also calling Amy, since as someone close to Metal, she will want to know what has become of him. Using his newest creation, a device he calls the Miles Electric, Tails is quickly able to set up a video conference, projecting images of both Shadow and Amy, while Sonic gives them a rundown of their current predicament. Understandably, Amy is horrified by what she hears, hanging her head sadly and muttering that Metal never would have wanted this, while in a more stoic tone, Shadow agrees that the android deserved better. He then informs them that while they've been speaking, he said the Ark's internal systems track the Egg Fleet's movements, and from what he can tell, they're headed for what looks like a base in Rail Canyon. However, this isn't the important part. What they really should be concerned about is the giant warship being constructed inside the canyon, since this thing makes the Egg Carrier look like the Eggmobile by comparison. According to the Ark simulations, the fleet will arrive at Rail Canyon in approximately 3 days, which is also when that warship will most likely be ready to launch. Looking troubled, Sonic asks what his black and red counterpart is saying, to which Shadow plainly replies that if Sonic and whoever's going with him can get there before the Doctor does, they might be able to stop this thing from becoming operational, while also getting another chance to rescue Metal. As for him, he along with Rouge, if he can get a hold of her, will infiltrate the Egg Fleet en route to the canyon, since that way they should be able to gather more information, and if need be, try and slow Eggman down to buy Sonic and his team more time. To the surprise of everyone, this is where Amy speaks up, stating that she will join Shadow and Rouge as their third member, since she wants to try and talk to Metal. After all, they are friends, so maybe she can snap him out of whatever brainwashing Eggman has done to him. From the scowl curling his lips, it is plain to see that Shadow thinks this is a bad idea. Though ignoring his better judgment, he agrees to this request, though only on the proviso that she be careful, since she reminds him of a friend he once knew, and like her, he suspects the pink hedgehog to be the type who puts her friends above her own safety. Looking a little sheepish at the intensity with which Shadow is scowling at her, Amy promises that she'll be extra careful, with this satisfying the ultimate life form enough that he instructs her to report to the Ark as soon as possible. Meanwhile, feeling some of his old exuberance coming back now that they have a plan, Sonic expresses his intent to leave at once, with Knuckles and Tails declaring that they'll go too to back him up. However, in what is yet another surprise, Sigma, Scrap and Mecha all state that they wish to help too, since they want to rescue Metal just as much as the Organics do, though they will need to wait until Scrap can be fitted with a new arm, so the others should go ahead without them, and they'll rendezvous at the Rail Canyon base. Noting their agreement, the newly formed Team Sonic then turn to depart, though before they go, they urge their robotic friends to get ready, since when they next cross paths with the Metal Commander, they may not have the option of retreating, meaning they gotta be at their best, since it'll take all of them giving 100% if they want to stand a chance against his new upgrades. Meanwhile, in a dark and gloomy cell, Metal Sonic awakens, his green eyes staring determinedly at the path that lies ahead of him. Today is the day. Today, he will escape. And that's where we'll leave things for now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below.